Hello. In this video, I'm going to be going over an overview of the digital reading and writing SAT. There's going to be two modules for this, and each of them have 27 questions. There's 32 minutes for each module. This is combined in one test for reading and writing. So there's no essay involved here, and the test is adaptive, meaning that depending on the answers you give, the second module can either be easier or more difficult. So for example, if you do really well in the first module of the reading and writing section, then you're going to get harder questions, which indicates that you're going to get a higher score overall. So, what does any of this mean? Let's look at this. The four reading and writing domains, or essentially the question types. So, these question types, expression of ideas, craft and structure, information and ideas, and standard English, all of these are like the domains or the question types that you can look for when you're doing practice problems on Khan Academy or the SAT Suite practice questions. So if you ever want to use resources like that, you can sort by the domains in order to find out which areas you're struggling in or which ones you want to do more practice in. So craft and structure is 28% of this. This is the majority of the reading and writing section on the SAT. Expression of ideas makes up the least amount with 20%, whereas information and ideas and standard English conventions both make up 26% each. Here's another way you can also think about it. The reading questions at the start of the test, like information and ideas and craft and structure, all of that's going to be like 50% of the test, and this is towards the start. The writing questions, questions 1 and 2, these sections over here, you have the light blue and the slightly darker blue. The standard English convention starts about halfway through the thing, which is essentially just grammar questions. And more on that about grammar, we're going to be doing some punctuation practice later in this video. And then there's also expression of ideas, which starts when you're about 75% down. So this is going to be about bullet points and transition words. So we're going to be going over all of these domains in more detail later on. But for now, what we're going to do is move on to punctuation. So there are four main types of punctuation that are used on the SAT in regard to linking ideas and clauses. So periods, punctuation, like periods, semicolons, colons, and comma. These are four types of punctuation that are really used in the SAT. In this video, we're going to be going over these three over here: periods, semicolons, and colons. Periods and semicolons, they're thought of together because, in general, they're somewhat interchangeable, really, on the SAT. Because both of them have the same purpose of connecting two complete ideas or independent clauses. The way you can test whether an idea is an independent clause is whether it can stand alone as a sentence. For example, let's look at this example here. My friend's cat hates people, semicolon. She always hides whenever I come over. Now, the first clause, my friend's cat hates people, that could stand alone as a sentence on alone. So you could, if you replace the semicolon with a period, it would be grammatically correct. And if you change the lowercase s to a capital one, so you could replace it with a period here because both of these clauses are independent. That's also the same reason why both it can't be both a semicolon and a period if both options are offered. It's one or the other, and there's only one singular best option for SAT questions. So that's why you can eliminate both as answers if they give you both semicolons and periods. Now, colons. Colons have two main uses. So firstly, they must be preceded by a complete idea or an independent clause. Can it stand alone as a sentence? Yes. That's And then the second part, they must be used for an emphasis or in a list. For example, yesterday I was able to see my favorite musical, colon, and then they give the musical. That's the emphasis part. They're putting emphasis on the title here. Example 2. My mother loves three vegetables the most: broccoli, zucchini, and Brussels sprouts in a list. Notice how both of these satisfy the requirements over here. It's preceded by a complete idea and then is used for either emphasis or in a list. Now, I want you to take a brief moment, pause the video here, and look at this practice question. These practice examples, rather. So, what you need to do is add punctuation to the following sentences. I like to eat all desserts, cake, ice cream, and candy. And 2, I like going to the park. There are always friendly dogs around. So, just take a few minutes or so to pause, and I'll make sure to explain how we get the answers. Do you have an answer yet? All right, let's start with number 1. I like to eat all desserts, colon, cake, ice cream, and candy. Because I like to eat all desserts can stand alone as an independent clause. And then the colon here is used before a list. Number 2, I enjoy going to the park, semicolon. There are always friendly dogs around. Again, I enjoy going to the park and there are always friendly dogs around. Both act as independent clauses. And since they can be separated this way, a semicolon would be better here because otherwise, if it was a period, the T in there would have to be capitalized. Let's look at another example in this practice question over here. Please take a brief moment to look through this. All right, the correct answer for this one is B. Because again, we have independent clauses here. When in 2004, Watt sewed strips of blanket together to craft a 10 by 13-inch sampler, semicolon, that could stand alone as a sentence. In 2014, she arranged folded blankets into two large stacks and then cast them in a bronze, creating two curving 18-foot tall blue bronze pillars. Both of those could stand alone as a sentence. So, in the next video, we're going to be covering inferences. So, make sure to stay tuned for that one. Thank you for watching.